Happy Monday, and welcome to the very first podcast of HERversation. I am so excited to be before you on this evening. My name is Nakia Wright, and I am grateful, excited, and screaming from the rooftops that HERversations is here. Yes! What a dynamic day to start this podcast. We are in the midst of Women's History Month, and today happens to be International Women's History Day. If you follow us on A Woman's Voice Matters, we have been highlighting women who have been trailblazers making today possible. We've been highlighting modern day trailblazers, and we've been shouting out to the rooftops how powerful, how dynamic, how necessary women are. So HERversations, you are making your history debut in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of times we've never lived in before. We are creating history, and I'm so excited that I have the honor and the privilege to be doing it with a man who was courageous enough to give me his last name. I'm introducing to some, presenting to others, none other than my husband, the Honorable Bishop Donald Wright. Thank you for joining me today, sir.
It's always my privilege. It's always an honor to walk side by side with you. God's got a tremendous anointing on your life, and the things that he's assigned for you to do, I'm proud to watch them come to pass. There's so many places where men fit, and usually it's the front. And I think that we have forgotten that Joseph walked with Mary while she was carrying Jesus. It was just his job to make sure that she didn't fall and wound what she was carrying in it. So sometimes it's our job to be sure that you get to your destination, and not always to lead, but to aid and to help, and to make sure that while she was on that donkey that she didn't fall off.
Amen.
And so sometimes it's just my job to watch you and make sure you don't fall.
Oh, thank you, sir. I love you. Thank you.
You're so mushy.
You see this? Oh my goodness. This is why I'm so grateful, and I'm so honored, and I'm just counted a blessing to be Mrs. Wright. Thank you, baby. I'm going to introduce to some and present to others HERversations. HERversations is a branch off of A Woman's Voice Matters. If you have followed me and my company on social media, you know that A Woman's Voice Matters is a platform where we say, you matter, your voice matter, and together we all matter. Our goal is to empower, educate, and push you to be the best you that you can possibly be. Your voice is your secret weapon, and we want to make sure that you're utilizing that to be modern day change agents. We know I myself, while I am the CEO, I am accompanied with a dynamic group of women. Marcy,
Oh,
Diane, Hadassah, Charmonique, Laura, Tashia, and I affectionately call them the Dream Team. We are a group of women from CEOs to vice presidents to entrepreneurs, and together we are working to make a difference. We said that we've outlived our choices. We are living proof that if you keep on living, if you wake up every day, that God will use the impossible to do the impossible. So we have made it our mission and our goal to go after every woman that we see, because we know what life looks like. And not only do we focus on the ones that are just beginning, but we focus on the ones that are great achievers, because there are no limits. The sky is no longer the limit. We've shattered all glass ceilings, and we always want to remind you to keep going higher. My husband said something that's so great. He said, don't you ever get too low in life, and don't you ever get too high in life. And we are one another's balance to keep going, and keep going. So I am honored to share with you HERversations on this platform. We'll discuss all things women. We'll discuss small businesses. We'll discuss faith. We'll discuss life. We'll discuss things that pertain to us. And it'll come from living proof voices, whether it's male or female. I think some of the most powerful insight that I've gotten as a woman came from a man. So be prepared. We'll be on bi-weekly. Join us. Set your alarms. Today, we are live. You can follow our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Facebook. After each show will be aired after the live version on all of your podcast platforms. So make sure when you're on Spotify, Podmatic, Apple, that you just search HERversations. I guarantee there's going to be some information that's going to transform, alter your life, and be exactly what you need when you need it the most. And please note that oftentimes it's not what you hear, what you're going through today, that these podcasts will help you. It is arming you for something that you may go through in the future. So just look at it at this moment. It's entertainment today. It's futuristic life moments tomorrow. So with that being said, we're going to start our podcast. 75 minutes of life that's going to be so entertaining, so impactful, so informative. So thank you. I am so honored to introduce my very first guest for today. And when I thought about doing HERversations during Women's History Month, I decided to do those that have a close, intimate space in my heart. And what none other than April Daniels, who is my husband, and I absolutely adore her and her husband, LaShawn Daniels. We've shared some intimate moments together. We have some lifetime memories that we've shared, some publicly, some privately.
Yeah.
And when I reached out to her, I said, I would love for the very first HERversations to include you. She said yes, without a doubt. I'm so grateful for her. And I want to just read her bio, because again, she is familiar to me. She may not be familiar to you. So for formality's sakes, I'm going to read her bio. April Daniels is the epitome of resilience, strength, and wisdom. Having been known to the world as a TV personality, an empowerment vessel for women, the wife of the late LaShawn Daniels, and still a devoted mother to three amazing young men, April is a boss in her own right. Yes. Through the years, the world came to know and fall in love with April and LaShawn. They touched the hearts of so many through their fierce loyalty to one another, their children, their careers, and with no doubt, their loyalty to Jesus. Together, they helped us all know that loving him and being the cool couple on the block went hand in hand. April was encapsulated by the lessons of life, love and life from her years with LaShawn. Since his transition, she is learning to soar on her own while living out the evidence of his belief in her. Today, April is exploring new avenues of creativity and influence. Author is the newest title added to her list.
Yeah, good,
Yes.
good.
In her book, slated to be released in 2021, April allows you to peer into her life from the very beginning. In addition to being an author, she's a speaker, freelance writer, and business owner who still makes time to encourage, empower, and be a source of hope and inspiration to others. The evolution of April takes you from heartfelt advice from the Girlfriend's Corner by April Daniels inside MB Magazine to her newest venture in the health and beauty industry and much more. To know April Daniels is to know true authenticity with every interaction. April continues to move through this life with grace and prays that everyone God grants her the opportunity to encounter will experience his love through her. That is the true measure of success. And without further ado, I introduce to some, present to others, the one and only April Daniels.
Yay.
Hi guys.
Hey.
How are you?
We are wonderful. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, of course.
I'm happy I know a celebrity like you.
Oh,
Stop all over. Just send me your autograph, okay? So I probably won't sell it on eBay either. I won't sell it.
Man, you live with a celebrity. You live with me.
Yeah, but I got you right here. It's in my heart.
Okay.
I carry you where I go, but I don't have a signature.
I was prepared for a lady to give, but then when I saw you sitting beside, I said, "Wow, I got both of them this evening. This is gonna be amazing."
Listen, I got drug into HERversation.
Yeah.
I wanted my husband next to me for the very first one because he's always supported me. He's always said, he's always heard my desires, and he's always said, give me a moment after he's heard them, and he takes them to the throne of God, and he comes back with either go forward, now is not the time, or Nakia, go somewhere and sit down. And when he gave me truth moments. And when HERversation started up, I said, babe, I do want you to be a part of this podcast because I do believe that everything that we do in the midst of COVID-19 are history making moments.
Yes.
So I wanted him to be beside me. So thank you so much, babe.
I'm just here.
Listen, there's nothing like a husband's covering. Nothing like it. So absolutely, any moment you get to be there, Bishop, you be right there, seated right beside it. Like we here.
Yeah. we here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I wanted to discuss with you is, first of all, let me honor you because life has happened. You lost the love of your life, and you look absolutely beautiful through this TV screen, and
amazing,
absolutely amazing. And we're living through COVID-19, where we've lost over 500,000 lives due to this deadly disease. We've been in our homes for over a year. I told my husband just recently that this past Sunday, what is 1 year since we've actually been in our church building worshiping with our church family. And it has been a year that none of us could have even imagined. Mm-hmm. Coming out of 2019, going in 2020, my own personal thing was back to the basics. Right. I had no idea that this was going to happen. And literally we were back to the basics at home, cooking our meals. Busy was no longer a distraction. We were spending time with our families. We were focusing on our faith. We were just sitting in awe that God has kept us. And we were reminded that so much came before our relationship with him, and that we needed to shut down and get back focused because busy became our biggest distraction. Mm-hmm. And during that time, many of us dreams have been lost, but many of us have gotten our refooting, and we have found the thing that was inside of us, and now is coming out loud. So, April, how have you been during this pandemic? Life has happened, and we were talking offline, and you have days where it's like, oh God.
Look, it's days I wake up with my cape attached to my neck, and there's other days like, what did I do with my cape before I went to sleep? I mean, it's real moments, Some days are better than others, but I have learned, if nothing else, through all of this, and then a pandemic right after, is that when God tells you to move, move. And so that's been my train of thought throughout this whole process, and just being obedient, making sure I'm connected enough to him to hear his voice, so that when he tells me to shift, stand, sit, whatever it is, I can hear him and I can do it, because that's where my peace comes from.
Amen. Amen. That is the truth. That's where your peace and your strength comes from.
Absolutely.
I'm sure, because I know that you would not be able to do what it is that you do had it not been for the Lord who is on our side.
Yes.
I know that through experience that listening to that still small voice that will lead and guide you is a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you been doing? I read your bio. You're in a place that you haven't been in as an adult, walking life, finding your way. So tell us, what has been going on with April Daniels? What are you doing professionally right now?
I mean, it's been so much going on with me. Obviously, you know, from my husband passing, that was the ability to really just sit in that and to be gentle enough with myself to allow God to allow the process to happen the way it was supposed to be. Obviously, when you lose someone, especially a husband or a spouse rather, you want to get through the painful parts really quick so you can get back to life and feel some type of completeness somewhere, you know? But I really just took the last year and a half to really just be kind to myself, and whatever that meant, to just really heal from the inside out. You know, it's easy to be pretty for a podcast, do your hair, put on some lipstick, and look like, oh, she's just doing well, and be a mess inside. And so I didn't want anything that was going on with me to have another agenda other than really just being transparent in the process. So, you know, in that, I really just took the time to really hear from God on a whole nother level that I had never heard from him before. Just to really be in relationship with him, you know, and that was something that I had, but the death of the relationship I have now had to come from the loss of my husband. With that, you know, it's put me in a stronger mindset and able to see life after a loss like that, because, you know, for the longest part, you're like, that's it, my life's over too. What I'm gonna do? You know, like everything we banked on together was supposed to pan out. And here we are, where the whole chapter has been rewritten and totally a whole plot twist. And you're like, whoa, I'm not prepared for this. So with that, I am now in a place of really embracing the newness of it all. You know, which is, it's difficult for me because I am a planner. I like to have plans. I like to know we're gonna go here and do this and that and that, and not to have any control in this chapter of my life is really a little bit risky feeling to me. But in the same breath, it's also very promising, because I know who's driving the car. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm exploring new opportunities in the health and beauty business. I'm still kind of seeing what that looks like, but I'm considering doing some things there. I'm writing a book that's supposed to be released in the late summer, early fall. And then I have a lot of different other business ventures that have found me, and I'm just kind of like, okay, you know, I'm excited again, because for a minute I was living vicariously through my children, because my whole plan got hijacked and was like, okay, that's not that anymore. So it's really been a great space to be in with just all of the newness. I really like, it's bizarre, but I'm really enjoying where God has me right now. The article in Mind Blowing Magazine in every issue is called The Girlfriend's Corner, and I get to write on real topics and kind of be the girl that discuss the things that we might think about but we don't say out loud. That's been exciting. I did my first column last month, and it was it was different. So I am really just in a space where I'm like considering everything that looks good, feels good. Of course, followed with much confirmation. But there's so many possibilities. I also have my real estate license. Obviously, I took a break from it to go to LA and be with my oldest son while he, finished with all of his great accomplishments. But that's a whole nother.
Let's not skate past that. No. Let's pause for a minute.
Yeah.
What was the great accomplishment from your son?
Why he passed the California bar on his first try, and he now makes up that 4% of African American attorneys in Los Angeles. So yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing! Look,
Can I send in my Cash App?
Yes.
I send in my Cash App. So
you tell him I said that you can send it, and he better honor it.
Yeah, send it to Uncle Donald. That's good.
We often skate past our victories, and there are, we should definitely slow down while the world saw you celebrate.
Oh my gosh,
so amazing! I would not let the moment escape without personally clapping hands and celebrating you, because it's absolutely major. We should honor our victories.
Good. I appreciate that. Thank you. And it definitely grew legs and feet, and I'm like, honestly, when my youngest recorded it, we really were just thinking for the village that's been praying for us. Let's just share the coming full circle with it. And, we put it up there because at first I said, do you want to go live? And he's like, are you crazy? I don't want to go live. I was like, oh, okay. But, we put it up, and gosh, I think the timing of it, just everything going on in the world today, it was a victory for everybody.
Amen.
I was just honored that God would use something in my life to be able to touch so many other people and bring so much joy. Like, we had our village celebrating, but we had so many people all over the world celebrating with us. And, that was all God's doing. I said, that LaShawn, he said, I'm going to take my family on the world tour and let them see how much we love God.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Yes.
A true sentiment of getting the power out of the pain, out of your pain. You are a true sentiment of that in every way. And when we looked at that video, all we saw was God. All we saw was him, and we lived to give him glory, and I believe that he was glorified. You went on national, you were on the Kelly Clarkson, the Kelly Clarkson show. And I know that your son is just that was just one notch in the ladder of success that he will climb.
Yeah.
So just being able to view that and experience it with you. Thank you for letting us in. I know personally that you have always been the one to shy away from public. Like, that's not who I am. This is not who I am. So just for you to allow us in was just a moment to celebrate. Now so you have, and I know you can't give us a lot of information about it, but just so that we can just be waiting on the edge of our seat with great anticipation. You're writing. Share with us a little bit about, are you telling your story?
I am telling my story from April, the little girl, to April, the woman who lost her husband. So I felt like, for the most part, people only know a little bit about me. And, that's because obviously the television show and my husband. But everybody has a story. Mm-hmm. And I feel like where I've come from and where I have been and where God has brought me can definitely help somebody. That is the sole purpose of me writing this book. Mm-hmm. I don't believe God takes us through different pockets of our journey to keep the testimony to ourselves, which is part of the reason why I've been so, in your face with my whole, transparency and the journey of, a loss and life after and what that looks like, because, I don't look at it as punishment. I look at it that God is with me on a deeper level, and he's just birthing something new in me. What most people are the ones looking are either the ones who have been in my shoes or the ones who don't even know that one day they will. And so it was important for me to put my story out there for people to have a reference. You know, not a lot of people want to talk about what's happened, and I get it. But for me, it was just different. I heard God say, you know, show them what I'm doing, tell them what I'm doing, because listen, I didn't ask for it. I'm like, listen, Lord, you could chose somebody else. But it's what it is. And so had he told me what he was planning to do, I probably wouldn't have been like, sign me up, Lord. You know what I mean? But there's still beauty. There's still beauty in the loss. And I only want to see the beauty in it, because how my husband ran his home is a testament of our belief in God. So I'm not going to believe him when my husband was beside me and now look at him and say, oh, you're a liar. You know, I'm going to still believe and uphold what we believed in as husband and wife.
Amen.
So, you know, telling this story is really just in hopes to help somebody that's traveling the road, or somebody who doesn't know that one day they will be in my shoes, you know, whatever that is. But I just feel like it's important for us as women to tell our stories, because we need each other.
We need each other.
But I think that there's a lot. There are a lot of women who have traveled the road that you're on, and they pulled over to the side also. They just pulled over, and it wasn't a rest stop. They just pulled over on the side of the road because they didn't know what else to do. But life has taught us that brokenness is probably one of the greatest homes that God lives in. And we always look for him in the temple or the mega church, but God moves into brokenness.
Yes.
And it's always a quiet walk, because he sent Jeremiah to the potter's house and he made it again another vessel. And so he took the same clay and he remade it, but it had to be broken first to see a greater beauty. You know, so for I think that what you're doing is commendable, because there's so many people that's on the side of the road, and they've been sitting there for 8 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And you come by with some spiritual gasoline and put in their car, and they can go a little further. So, you know, congratulations for the courage.
Yes.
To say yes, and a genuine yes. Okay, here's my truth. You don't even have to have an opinion about it. You don't have to like it or not like it, because it's mine. You know, it's my truth. So
absolutely.
Yeah, but the courage to share it, that's huge.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I received so many DMs from women that's like, my husband passed away 20 years ago, and just hearing your testimony has touched me. And I'm like, Jesus, 20 years ago. Yep. You've been broken for 20 years. Yep. Don't get me wrong. I miss my husband to death. God knows I would do anything to get him back. But at the end of the day, I don't think he would want to come back. He's having a good old time up there. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be broken. I don't want to be stuck. I have 3 sons. I owe it to me, but I also owe it to them, to see how we can recover after this. And so that's all the gas I need in my car to keep me going, so that I can continue to make progress and not be on the side of the road with some people who are permanently there.
Amen. Because we're answers. We are what you will see on HERversations are flawed vessels, because flawed vessels know the way out, whatever that means. You can't ever not have gone through life, and if you have never gone through life, you can't navigate me through my trouble. And most people need living proof that you can go through this and come out of it. Not only come out of it, but you'll have your right mind. You can have your dreams come true. You can go beyond your dreams to a place called impossibilities.
Yes.
So you're living proof that on the other side of pain and hurt, there is a beautiful story being told. And I'm grateful, again, echoing the sentiments of my husband, that you have the courage to tell your story. There are people who are broken because nobody has ever showed them the way out. You, ma'am, are a trailblazer. You are navigating wounded hearts to a place called healed. Can you imagine a group of healed women uniting and the unstoppable force that we become?
Listen, amazing things. That's all that could come out of that. More amazing things.
More
amazing
amazing
things.
things. So you have 3 man children, and I want to talk about the climate of the earth today.
Yes.
When you look at where our black male men are and what we've lived through and the things that we've seen, how are you communicating to your children? How are they talking to you about the blatant racism that we've been in, the value of their lives? What's some of the conversations that you're having in your house today?
A lot of transparency through it all. I mean, clearly the state of the world is just devastating, but honestly, it's always been this way. If you ask me, it's just been different filters on it at different points of time.
Absolutely.
So with 3 African American sons, I'm always concerned. Communication, all 3 of them are in different parts of the world. And so we keep the line of communication open. We have trackers on our phones so that I know where they are at all times. And sometimes they're like, Mom, you're a little crazy with it. But I'm like, if crazy is keeping you safe, then I'm going to be crazy all day long. But just it's really unsettling to see all that's going on. But it's a fine line because you acknowledge what's going on, you see it, and you want to help enforce change. But you also have to be careful not to go down the rabbit hole because too much of it in absorbing, your thoughts and your discussions to me can almost have you living in fear.
Absolutely.
And then when you're living in fear, it's like, okay, we can be concerned, but we shouldn't be scared to move about the plane. You know what I mean? We got to trust God in this. And so, although we've seen some horrific things play out, God is still on the throne.
Yeah.
I have to believe that there will be some type of, something given to us to make us feel like it's turning its way. I know with George Floyd, we thought that would be the moment where we would see change and it would just continue. But unfortunately, it probably will take several more George Floyd cases before they really get it. And half the time they just don't want to get it. So, for me and my kids, we always have open dialogue. We talk about everything. As much as we know how to get involved, we get involved. But, it's crazy because even like with Breonna Taylor, when there was a lot of the protests, peaceful protests, my heart wanted to go out there and be a part of that. But then I'm like, you have to consider all things. Yes, my heart is saying go and support and do what you feel compelled to do. But then we can't control the officers that want to shoot rubber bullets into the crowd and harm people that's just out there with a peaceful heart. Obviously, we watched the Capitol, they stormed in and came out and was escorted down the street to get away safely. So we know they know how to act.
I'm sitting next to my husband that's a pastor. Don't bring that up because I might say a bad word now.
Okay, well, I'll say that we know they know how to act when it's certain situations. Mm-hmm. And so to see that it's constantly the shorter end of the stick that plays out for African Americans is just very discouraging. But I've always been, even when my husband was here, we've always spoke to our kids like they were grown men. The streets don't care nothing about you. The home is where you will be taught how to maneuver, what to do, what not to do, what to say, it's very important. And I think that conversations we don't care to have with our children are very much so the ones we need to have with our children. Because, anything can happen, anything. I just had a situation the other day and I couldn't even understand what was playing out. And I'm watching this woman and she was just on a power trip and threatened to get me kicked out of someplace. And I'm like, you gonna kick me out? I'm like, what is going on? But in that moment, I was telling my friend, I said, I was able to see how something can go left so quickly and it just go completely out of control. And the whole time I'm like trying not to engage with this lady, but she just keeps coming. She keeps coming. And finally I had to say something to her. And then in that moment she's threatened, but then you reverse it and try to make it about me. Granted, I didn't get kicked out of anywhere, and the security came and pretty much escorted her out. But it was just the fact that in all of my 47 years, I've never been kicked out of any establishment. Mm-hmm. So that the fact I'm standing here having to defend myself for something that was not me is just really baffling, because that is really the times that we live in. You're guilty. It's not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent.
I just felt the exact words to my husband this past weekend, the exact words. And we're living in a time that one moment, entire life, one moment.
Yeah. I literally had to stop and say, I called my girlfriend. I said, I need you to come down here, because I realized it's just me against them. So I wanted someone else to come down. And then I started videotaping. And I was just like, gosh, I can see now, like, some of the things we watch, and we're like, well, why are they just starting the videotape? It's like, you're not even really thinking about any of that in that moment. And then when you do, it's like, let me dot my I's, let me cross my T's, because this thing could really go left. And then now it's all of them against me. Thankfully, God was keeping me covered and none of that happened. But I could not believe that I was standing in that situation in that moment, having to defend myself.
Yes, absolutely. I know that time is of the essence, and we have a great show planned for this evening. But Bishop, piggybacking off of what April shared in reference to the advice that she gives her son and the conversations that she has, is there something that you want to add to that conversations? Because we solve the world's problems in this home. I mean, there's not anything that ever comes up that we, the team Wright, does not solve here in this house.
Right.
Problem solver number one, because I'm probably
like, they need to just call us. We can say it like we got the answer right here.
No, April, no. Listen, this is all about for me personally. It's all about prayer. I mean, I've gone from. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I've gone from heroin to Harvard, only to figure out I need Jesus.
Yeah.
There's my answer. And but as it relates just to the problems of the day, they are not new, not at all. I relate everything to the scriptures, even though I'm capable to speak on other areas, but I just, for my own piece, I relate everything to the scriptures. And even when you look at Ruth, and you find out that Ruth, everyone celebrates Ruth and Boaz, and she found her Boaz after she had lost her husband, and then she found another place to get there, to redeem everything that she thought was going to happen. Now I don't know why that came out. but Ruth had lost her husband, and then she makes her way to Bethlehem, and when she gets back to Judah, then she finds her kinsman redeemer. However, there's a small part, and it might bless your life, or you might want to write on it. There's a small part in it, and I'm gonna quickly, because I'm a preacher. Don't give a preacher a microphone. That's foolish. but there's a small part in it that when she found her Boaz, he wasn't the Boaz. He wasn't her nearest of kin. The one who should have redeemed her wouldn't. And so, to all the women who are listening, that Boaz came after another rejection, and that the person who should have said yes, he said, "I want what she has. I want the land, but I don't want her." And the problem that comes with pain is that it renews your purpose. Mm-hmm. And so you don't settle for who don't want your all, And so speaking to your boys, it's a family thing. We're a package deal. We stand together. We walk together. We ride together. We check on each other. I want to know how you're doing. I want to continue to speak into your life. Let me speak truth to your power. We want somebody to go to the White House to speak truth to power. But all of your sons, by legacy, by who their mom is, who their dad was, every promise over your house is their promise. Period. In the story. And so that being your truth, that's a package. So I get to speak truth to your power to make sure that you indeed remain powerful, that no weapon, whatever it is, this generation or the previous generation. I think that one of the things that I'm focusing on right now, for me personally, is when God said to John that I'm Alpha and Omega. He didn't say I was Alpha.
Yeah.
I am Alpha. If you need a place where you get a brand new start, I'm that guy who gives you a brand new start.
Yes.
I am Alpha. It's not just I wasn't Alpha in Genesis. I still am Alpha, and I'm Omega. Okay, so I just encourage you to stay on the road you're on, to continue to speak truth to the power of your sons, so that their legacy would be stronger than imagined, because they've endured what they never thought they would. They have already endured what they thought they'd never see.
Yes.
That they've already made it to the other side of that. And so now tell them, get the paintbrush of their imagination to figure out what this looks like now on the other side of what I hoped would never happen.
So true.
So
true. I knew I was leaving with some nuggets.
We're just talking. Listen, I was supposed to be in there watching the Golf Channel. My wife said no.
Oh, such a thing.
Come on. April, I thank you for joining us on this evening. I thank you for being part of the first rebooting of HERversations. Your voice is powerful. Your voice is impactful. We wanted you to be an additional. I know you have a strong tribe, but we are in addition to let you know that you're prayed for. We're praying with you. We're praying for you, and that we are rooting you on. That success is your barometer, and we're looking forward to all that God has in store through you. Keep being living proof that had it not been for the Lord on my side, you keep being who others need to see in order to see him, because people won't see him. They'll see you through him, through you.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a necessary, vital part of many women's lives.
Yeah.
And I look forward to continuing on the journey with you.
Absolutely. I thank you guys for this opportunity. As always, y'all family, so it's always
family. Yeah.
But I love you guys and wishes to you.
Thank you. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to the very first rebroadcast of HERversations in podcast format. Oh my goodness, we were so honored to have, in honor of International Women's Day, none other than the infamous April Daniels. Her voice is loud, her testimony is powerful. Please make sure, if you have not done so, that you're following her on all of her social media platforms, because she does have answers. You may not have lost a spouse, but I believe that whenever a powerful woman opens her mouth, that you can find strength, you can find strategy, you can find information. So just be on the lookout, follow her, cheer her on. You may not be going through what she's going through, but be one of her biggest advocates for success. Again, HERversations, I'm here with none other than my husband, Bishop Donald Wright.
Hey.
Yes, I'm so excited. Anytime I have the opportunity to sit with this great mind, I lay with him every night, and I'm still in awe of what God produces through him. And he has so much information and wealth. I mean, I already know you got a big head, but
I sleep with Malia.
Yes. But the stuff that comes
Wait, they don't
out,
understand who Malia. That's
Malia's
the
our
grandbaby.
granddaughter. She's our granddaughter.
No, she got to come in the room and sleep
Every
with
night.
Mama and Papa.
Every night.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But the information that he has, he's just like a walking encyclopedia. You see all these books behind us. And I just believe that in a time, we're living in a time we've never lived in before. And we're in the after this. We've been quarantined for 1 year. And I briefly referenced this earlier. We are from Maryland. If you're watching us from any of the states, we are located in Prince George's County, Maryland. And while our focus is local, our reach is broad. And one of the things that I believe during this time is that people are looking for answers. And I believe that God raised up great and mighty people in the earth to give answers for such a time as this, whether it's in the area of faith, whether it's in the area of politics, whether it's in the area of health, whether it's in the area of business. God has raised up people to be answers, and I am sitting next to an answer. So, but wait, before I do that, let me just show you. Some of you are listening and others of you are viewing. This past weekend, a Woman's Voice Dream Team member, Marcy Diane, all of my women who walk with me are great collaborators. And this weekend, she had the honor and the privilege to collaborate with one of our favorite designers, Alice and Olivia in Georgetown, and made her mark on Women's History Month. And I'm actually wearing one of her shirts, Pow Herful. It is
Powerful.
Yes, powerful.
Yeah.
It's a sentiment of her new line called Astonish Her, and she's just highlighting the greatness in women. If you have not been introduced to Marcy Diane, please follow A Woman's Voice Matters. Her company's name is Lovery Motivation. You can find our platform, AWV Matters, on both Facebook and Instagram. You can visit us on our webpage at www.awvm.online. She has a collection of powerful, everything her. Be sure to follow our pages so you can find her and make a purchase. 10% of everything that you purchase goes to the A Woman's Voice Matters. We're doing some great things in the community. Stay tuned. We're going to make a major announcement of something that we have coming up. We look forward to sharing with you our story, but please, everything is to make sure that women are inspired to do the impossible.
Good.
So that was my shameless plug.
Good.
So we're back to one of the greatest minds to ever walk this earth, Donald Wright. And sir, when you look at where we are now, you gave April Daniels some great advice about Boaz. But listen, let me just tell y'all, this is just a sidebar for those women who are praying for your Boaz. Let me just tell you, don't pray for Boaz, because the night after Ruth and Boaz got married, he died. So be sure that you're specific in the things that you pray for, and don't ask God to send your Boaz, because you don't want to wait your whole life for the man of your dreams, and in the next night you wake up and your husband is dead. So be very clear on what it is that you're praying for, and make sure that you learned in your biblical scriptures, so that you know that, so you're not setting your heart up for heartbreak. So with that being said, husband, you see the times that we're in. Yes, he is the world's best pastor. Look at my dad. You see the times that we're in. We're living in a pandemic. We're living in the midst of political unrest. We're living in the times where dreams are dying, and then there are some dreams that's being birthed at the same time. There's unrest on our globe. What wisdom can you deposit in this moment?
The first thing that comes to me, if they've been on for any length of time, then they know that I've referenced the Holy Writ quite often. And the first thing I heard our Lord say was, "My peace I leave with you, but not as the world gives." And so when it comes to pandemic, when it comes to racism, when it comes to prejudices, none of that's new. And I think that what we need to understand is that God chooses sides. He told Abraham, "Get up and get out of your kindred. I'm going to bless you, but I'm not going to do it right here. These people are corrupt." Okay. He told Moses, and then God chose sides because the Egyptians was causing the Hebrew people to make brick with no straw. So that's racism. If you're not one of us, if you can't recognize being one of us, then the problem now is we don't want to be with you. So the us versus them is never new. I mean, they were against Jesus. Okay. And he said, "For which cause are you killing me? Because I'm not like you." There's always been racism. It's not new. The first organized church in the 3rd century, all the way down. It's always been. So what I'd like to see believers come to grips with is that this is not new. Stop whining, stop complaining, get your heart in a safe place with God, because no weapon formed against you shall prosper. But as soon as we see the weapons, then we panic. Well, we've been preaching in the church for years, no weapon formed to prosper. But as soon as we see weapons, then we panic. None of this is new. Light versus darkness, good versus evil. It's not new. So what he said was, my peace I leave with you, not as the world gives. And then Paul comes back and tells us that everybody hasn't walked in it. He said, because there's still, there still remains a peace. Okay. We need to strive to enter into it. So this is going to sound very condescending, and that's not my intent. I want to be direct. You're going to be okay. You're just a few days away from COVID being over. Days meaning 5-6 months, whatever that time frame is, but you've made it through the hardest part. But the question is, have we learned our lesson? Ooh. Has our purpose been sharpened? Has our determination been heightened? Has our zeal been strengthened? Has our direction been made any clearer? Are we coming out of this feeling like we lost something in this, and we don't know what to do after this? Mm-hmm. And so while I remember years and years and years ago when I was early in the ministry, had some church problems, didn't know what to do with them, just typical church problems. Too much of the month left at the end of the money, wished you could get a bigger offering, yada, 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 yada. And I was in prayer, and the Lord said to me, stormy weather is sleeping time. There's nothing you can do outside. So remember, Mom used to say, turn off that TV, get off that phone. It's thundering. I was like, God is working. And she would tell you, there's not much you can do right now. Stormy weather is. So in other words, there remains a rest for the people of God. And right through here, we rest in him, because after the pandemic, there's going to be some phenomenal opportunities. So all of the businesses that closed, you can start a work. You're going to have plenty of places to open a business, to do ministry, to do creative things, do financial things, become an entrepreneur. And I say this with the utmost respect. Be the next Tyler Perry, be the next Oprah Winfrey, be the next, but the next is you. Mm-hmm. Be the next you.
That's it.
Listen, the sky's the limit, and it's really not the limit. You can go beyond that. And so, my advice is, sharpen your hope, pull your dreams back out of the closet. Good,
Bishop.
And just remember, you can do it. If you didn't die in the storm, you're okay. Don't wait for you can't legislate love. So don't wait for Congress to write a law to say you got to love everybody and we're going to do against discrimination. It's always been Cain killed Abel. There was 4 people on the earth, Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel, and we had discrimination then. Okay, so at that junction, you can't legislate love. So start with you. Love who God made you. Love what God gave you. Love the family the Lord gave. Love the ideas. Love the purpose for your life and the plan for your life. And don't worry about who's going to come against it, because they can't. No weapon formed.
That's so good, Bishop. You said something that was so key. You be the uniqueness that you were created to be. Oftentimes we are looking for people to help mold us and show us the way to go. And in actuality, there's no one that has ever been created to be you. So find the uniqueness that you possess. And then what you look for is strategy. Because this is what I say. I say, when you combine inspiration and strategy, you create an unstoppable force.
Good.
So the thing that you're looking for is, how do you cultivate what's inside of you? How do you manifest the ideas that God has deposited into you? He's placed resources and a wealth of information on the earth. It is our job to research and discover it. But know that no one, if you ever find yourself mimicking what you see, then you are aborting who you were born to be. And you're doing you a disservice, because you cannot mimic uniqueness. Uniqueness is cultivated. It is to be discovered. It is to be researched. It is to be unveiled at a pace that only you can do it at, but you have to discover the thing that you were born to do. Bishop and I are actually going to do a teaching on Saturday, and the topic that we're teaching to our local assembly is when your desire does not match God's call. When you're doing something that you've seen somebody else do, but it is not what you're supposed to be doing. And oftentimes we waste the most vital years of our life chasing our desire and not going after what it is that we're called to do.
Good.
And so A Woman's Voice Matters has this academy called Strategy. And what we do in that academy that takes place every last Saturday of the month is to give you strategy to attach to your purpose in order to produce greatness. We are stronger together if everyone does what it is that they're called to do, and then we all connect, not only in the spirit, but the Bible says first comes natural. If we connect naturally and we connect in the spirit, we are unstoppable. We are already in a fixed fight. Look, God has already ordered our steps, and our destiny has already been mapped out. If we walk in it, can you imagine the change that we'll create in the earth, women? Remember, all life comes through us. We were designed to birth dreams. We were designed to birth ideas. We were designed to birth vision.
Yeah.
This is who we're called to be. And men are visionaries. They see the picture. But not only do we see the picture, we also are detail oriented. We are the ones who have the ability to make it come to pass because we are so detailed. God designed us to be detailed oriented. Come on, baby. What you guys say?
I got to say, what you doing Sunday morning at 10 o'clock?
Making sure your lighting is right.
but I just would like to ask all of those listeners in the middle of this HERversation, if have you ever found yourself complaining? It's a simple question. Have you ever found yourself complaining? Because if you were complaining, it meant you weren't thinking. Because critical thinking is difficult. And those who don't complain.
Oh, Bishop.
You become a complainer because you don't have to think any further. And when things are not right, you just start barking orders. Critical thinkers go beyond what they see that's not right, and then they go on. So you're either a thinker or a complainer. But you've never heard critical thinkers and smart minds complain. They go beyond that. But you also never see complainers be that successful where they're asked their opinion.
That's good.
So are you a thinker or a complainer? And the only reason that I brought it up was because you had the power to change that. Don't complain about what the government wasn't doing and what happened to this and who don't like me and the racism and let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Yeah, and Dr. King, he was a critical thinker and made a choice in the midst of all opposition. I am going to have a movement of peace. We are non-violent. They had every reason to fight back and become violent, but because he was a critical thinker, he made some choices and he stuck to his plan.
That's good.
You are that person. You are a critical thinker who's going to come up with some 1-year plans, 5-year plans, 10-year plans, short-term goals, long-term goals. Set them. Yeah, you'll be fine.
That's good. Bishop, you said something that's so good because when I look at the characteristics of someone who owns their courage and owns their uniqueness and is a critical thinker, other women are not a competition to them. They're an asset.
Good.
And the one thing that I've learned in life is surround yourself with assets because not only are you armed with truth, you're also armed with the ability to bring somebody else along with you. If you want to, we've heard this so much, but I don't think that many of us has grasped the impact of what this saying is, and it is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with someone else.
Good.
And together, women, because that's my target audience. I do believe that men can find a message in anything. If you want to know how to love a woman, talk to a woman. If you're having problems in your marriage, listen to a woman who's confident and in love with her husband. If you are a married woman, make sure you put yourself in a group of women that love to be married because it'll always push you to be better. If you are a business owner, make sure you surround yourself with other successful business owners because it'll always teach you how to think outside of the box and how to always be creative because the Bible said there's nothing new underneath the sun. So 9 times out of 10, you're not going to come up with the idea that nobody else has. You're just going to come up with an idea that you've already seen and you can add you to it, which will separate you from somebody else. So when you look at your life and what it is that you want to achieve, make sure that you link and you surround your village of success because you will become who you are around. Me, I am around women who always dream and not only dream, they know how to manifest their dreams. I surround myself with women who love their husband. Life is not perfect. Perfection does not exist, but life can be perfectly imperfect. I surround myself by people who are not yes people, but will hold me accountable to my dream, my promise, and who God called me to be. So attaching yourself to people who will always make sure that you won't get comfortable because comfort is an enemy to greatness. Making sure that you surround yourself but with people that will look in the midst of this pandemic. If you were surrounded by people that Bishop talked about, who, when the weapon was formed, they were crippled. They didn't know how. If April was crippled after the passing of LaShawn, she would not have known how to get to a place called Next.
Right.
So make sure you can surround yourself by women that have the capacity and the grace to stretch you and be able to offer you fresh ideas in the midst of what seems like is a life-altering moment. Because who you are attached to will determine where you go. I am attached to greatness. You can't even imagine where I'm going.
Good.
You can't even imagine.
Good.
Attach yourself to greatness. It will take you to places that your prayer time won't even let you go. God will allow you to experience a life I'm living proof. That's greater than your dreams. He will raise you up to be an answer. He will raise you up at 46 years old and say, Nakia, you were called to be a change agent. Now, what are you going to do about it?
Good.
You can solve the world's problems in the privacy of your home, but no one else can hear the solutions that's coming out of your house. So how are you going to rise up in the midst of a dark time and be an answer that everyone needs you to be? Do you have the courage, Nakia, to be a loud voice at the right time? With the yes of my husband? Absolutely. And each one of you have the opportunity and the courage to be a loud answer. Bishop, you have this take on women and who they are. And, while we always say that now is the time of the women, in actuality, the saying is not correct because it's always been the time of the woman. We just actually are now recognizing it because when we were created, we weren't created second. We were created equal. So can you share your wisdom as it relates to who we are in the earth and how we were created and the things that we were called to do and the time that we're in now?
Well, you wasn't created second. You was created at the same time. It's just that God took you out when it was time for you to come out. And the text said, and he created he, them, male and female. It wasn't till after a while that God caused you to go to sleep, and then took you out so you could live a separate soulish life, to have advantage. And God thinks so much of women until, boy, some of my colleagues are going to get me for this, but it doesn't really matter. They can't argue. He thinks so much of women until he calls his men bride.
Come on, Bishop.
Revelations 21 calls them the bride, and I saw the bride, which is the men, which is the church, which began with apostolic teaching. Okay, but he calls he's the husbandman, and so he thinks so much of you, completing his purpose, till he calls everybody in that vein, in that context. And so, to all of the women, it does not make you lesser with your silk and lace. It makes you stronger. Men see macro and women see micro. Men see the house, women see the curtains. Men see the business, women see the clientele. That's just a broad stroke. But then there's some women that you have on your audience that are single women. And I just want to give you a little bit of encouragement. Go hard, because you don't have the responsibilities that married women have. You can do twice as much because you don't have anything holding you back, other than perhaps the folks that you have in your ear. So listen, you get something in your heart and you go hard after it and hard after it and hard after it. And there's no telling just where you'll end up at, because God loves you that much. I mean, God loves you that much. There's as many stories in the Bible about single women as there are about married women. You go to Numbers. There was 5 women and their father died, and his name was Zelophehad, and they had no inheritance. And they says, oh, we ain't going nowhere. And they went right to Moses. They says, why should we be cursed? Because a father didn't write a will. Basically, I'm trying to help you with that. And Moses went and prayed, and God said, the women are right. Give the women the same thing you would have gave the men.
Yes.
You know, so there's so many stories of your success that even if you're single, you're widowed, you're divorced, you're whatever, I would suggest that you don't hide behind your excuse. Step out from around it and be the best you. See, we all have fingers, but your print is different.
Come on, Bishop.
Everybody got a finger. So it looks like the idea is good, but you got to put your hand on it and put your mark on it and put your fingerprint on it and put your personality in it and watch it become successful.
That's so good, sir. That is excellent. And there's one thing that I always remind women, whether we're having a conference on a large scale or I'm in an intimate space with them, I say this: we have fought hard to get to the table. Be sure that when you get to the table, you don't become what you hated. We're not at the table to remove a man, because there's some things a woman can do. There's some things a man can do. We're not there to remove you. We are here to join you, and together we want to be able to change legislation, change lives, change the trajectory of the communities and where we live, work, and worship. So I won't ever become what I used to fight. I just want to be able to, yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to join you in the fight.
I want to say 3 words to that. Join you equally.
Yes.
I don't want to be in the room with you and be subservient to you.
Yes, sir. That's it.
No. I want to join you equally.
Yes.
Okay. And now that I didn't get in the room because you was polite. Every woman needs to think that. I'm not here because you was polite and you thought I was cute. No. You can leave cute at the mall. I'm here because I'm qualified.
Yes, Bishop.
Okay? And so you know, but if you don't think so, then nobody else will think so. So when you come in the room, come in having done your homework so that when it's your turn, you can elevate the conversation to a more loftier significance.
That's very, very good. And that is exactly it right there, Bishop. We are equal and we're qualified. We are in the room at the table to make decisions just like you. That is excellent. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Listen, this was our very first edition of HERversation. I wanted to make sure that I shared this moment with people that I loved and adored, and I thought would be answers for such a time as this. I'm grateful for April Daniels for joining us on this evening.
She was wonderful.
She was so wonderful. She looked so radiant. She looked so great, and she looked like she was kept. It was great to see her again. We absolutely love and adore her and her late husband, LaShawn. And I would be remiss if I didn't share this first moment with the man that I share life with. I will say this often. I got married when I was 38 years old. I can relate to a single woman and a married woman. And Bishop said something that's so key. If you are single, make sure that you do what it is that you were called to do while you were single. There are some things that God has called you to do as a single woman that once you get married, you can't go back and try to recreate that moment, because now your purpose is connected with your husband. And there's something that when you get married, there's a purpose attached to your union that has to be fulfilled in the earth. And you can't backtrack and redo years that you should have done, some things that you should have done when you were single. So make sure that single women, that you are fulfilling the thing that you were born to do prior to marriage, because when you connect to your life partner, your purpose is now, God has something else intended for that covenant and your walk in life. Again, HERversations is a platform where we will share all things women, faith, politics, small business, health. I'm looking forward to it. Next week, every other week, it's bi-weekly. Our next platform, we're going to have a community activist on. She's so excited. She's one of my Emerge sisters. We'll talk about what we are a part of, and we'll talk about who she is and what it is that she's doing in life right now. If you are not, please make sure that you're following me, Nakia Wright, on social media. You can find me on all platforms by my first and last name, which is on the screen, Nakia Wright. If you're listening on the podcast, that's NAKIA WRIGHT, Nakia Wright. Please make sure you're following my personal social media pages, as well as my organization, A Woman's Voice Matters. Our social media handles is AWV Matters on both Facebook and Instagram. And our website is www.awvm.online. We deposit fresh word in the earth every single day. Not only is it inspiration, it's also information. We want to make sure that you are informed and that we are adding strategy and structure to dreams and promises. Because again, I've said this before, a dream without structure leads to destruction. So we don't want to build up the courage to dream and go after what's in us only for it to fail and we lose our courage to begin again. No, every dream needs to have structure. And
Training your passion.
Yes, train your passion. Look, Bishop is right, and y'all, I cannot wait for y'all to read this book. It's going to be a bestseller. It is going to be, oh my goodness, it's so incredible. It is exactly who he is. And this mind right here is a force to be reckoned with. Baby, thank you for joining me on tonight.
I'm glad that you had me. Amen.
Yes. I'm glad. Do I have to pay you?
That salmon I saw you.
Oh, okay. Then I'm cooking off. I'm cooking off my wages. Thank you again for joining HERversations. In the time that we're living in now, you look for light moments to share a laughter. You look for moments where impact is given, and you look for moments that's a distraction away from this thing called life. And Bishop's definition of life is the things that happens in between your plans. HERversations is here. Make sure you go back and listen to it again. We thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Good night.